Have you ever tried to describe something that felt so undeniably real to you, but the person listening blinked like they missed your whole point completely? You could almost hear your truth sliding right past them, and you know your words, they didn't land at all. So you replay the moment later. You wonder if you said it wrong or if maybe they just didn't want to see. And the ache that follows isn't confusion, it's loneliness because when the wounds aren't visible, when the story doesn't come with proof, your words are just so easy to dismiss, especially when he's already told his version first, right? When abuse leaves no bruises and what's left behind is just doubt. And that doubt can do more damage than the silence ever did. This is Annie's story, and I'm telling it for her. In those years with Santino, when her world got smaller in so many different ways, you couldn't even measure it on a calendar. No screaming matches, though, no slam doors, just quiet control, often disguised as him being concerned for her. I've said it before, but I've got to say it again. If Annie laughed too loudly, he'd fall still, like joy was some kind of interruption to his day. If she shared an idea, he might laugh, tilt his head, and say, "Oh, Annie, you're being ridiculous again." If she disagreed with him, even gently, he would draw into an icy calm that would last for days. No scenes, no chaos, just a steady drip of correction that hollowed out a little more each time. She didn't have any bruises to show. What she had was a kind of erosion, slow and visible, and quiet enough to doubt herself. And if she tried to talk about it, there would be that tilt of the head, that well-meaning shrug. He's a good man. Maybe you're just taking it all too seriously. You always were a little on the sensitive side. They didn't mean to wound her, to hurt her, but they did, because every time she was dismissed, that fog in her head would just thicken. And Santino knew exactly how to keep it that way, to keep ahead of her. He'd mention her over coffee with friends, how worried he was about Annie, how emotional she had become. But by the time she spoke, her credibility had been rewritten. There was no coming back from that. It steals your reputation before you even realize it's stealing your voice. Years later, when she finally left, she met a woman who looked her straight in the eye and said, "Annie, that was abuse. You didn't imagine anything and you were never crazy." Those words were oxygen to Annie. They didn't erase the past, but they helped her breathe again because validation is real, soul level validation. It's not a compliment. It's not a pat on the back or a nod of sympathy. It is oxygen. It's the breath that reminds you you're still here. You weren't wrong and you were actually harmed. But how do you find that when truth telling makes you the villain? When speaking up paints you as dramatic or ungrateful and sometimes angry? Sometimes you find it in unexpected places, though. A support group, a podcast like this, a late night search that starts, "Is this abuse?" Sometimes it's a comment section that says exactly what you were afraid to admit out loud. It's not the same as having your sister or your best friend believe you, but it's a start. It's something. And it's That's something that healing starts now. If you've ever been silenced because there were no bruises, if you've ever questioned your sanity because no one else could see the damage, you don't owe the world proof of your pain. The absence of evidence is not absence of abuse. I say that so often because it's true. You can't show them bruises, but that doesn't mean that they're not there. And you deserve the same validation that Annie did, the kind that brings color back into your world and reminds you that survival was never, ever weakness. This one's for the woman who was told to stop being so dramatic, for every man who was laughed at for saying that it hurts, and for everyone still waiting to hear the words, "You were not imagining it. You're not crazy. You were mistreated, and you deserve to heal." I'm Keil Hackley, attorney, author of the book Undercurrent, and your host here at the Are You Annie podcast, which was created to provide space for people to come, to share their experiences, their stories, to be validated, and to know that they're not the only ones experiencing this. I want you to remember that you are stronger than you ever believed. You are a warrior against narcissistic abuse, and you are tenacious, and you're never, ever going to give up on what's important to you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for always showing up. I appreciate you, and promise me that you will take good care of yourself into the next episode, and you are not alone. Bye-bye for now.